Hello everybody. If you like drawing or maybe sketching on a whiteboard while you're giving your lectures and you're missing that in this new world, or if you like showing documents, annotating things, maybe doing a close-up view of circuit boards or diagrams, then you might find one of these useful. This is a document camera and it's basically a USB webcam that points downwards, and it's optimized for that role. So first of all, it has a sort of tripod type stand here where you can rotate the head this way to align with your document on the page. You can tilt it up and down to make sure you don't have any keystoning. It has a whole variety of controls along here, which we'll look at a bit more closely now. There's a button to turn the little built-in light on and off. There's a filter button, which applies various filters we'll see later. There's a rotate button, which rotates the image through 180 degrees. Zoom, which does a zoom in and out, just a digital zoom. The exposure plus and minus if the image is too dark or bright. The little blue button is one that does a manual focus. And there's a power button at the bottom. And this one even has a little light, though you don't really need that unless you're in a darkened lecture hall. Now you can just plug this in and use it as if it were a standard USB webcam with Zoom or Skype or Teams or whatever you like. It'll work as a 1080p camera if you do that. But like many of these USB devices, if you install some software, you can take advantage of more of its capabilities, and it has quite a bit more to offer. We'll take a look at some of those now. Okay, so first of all, I'm just going to show you here by running Quicktime Player that if I say I want to do a new movie recording, this is one of my cameras. You can pick your camera down here. This is called the IPEVO VZ R, by the way. And you can see a view of my desk here, and I can either rotate my documents, I can rotate the camera head, raise it or lower it to try and get the angle I want. That'll do for the purposes of demonstration, and I can press the little focus button on the bottom and that will focus in on my document, and then I can interact with this just as I could with any other webcam. I'm showing you Quicktime Player here, but of course this would work with Zoom or Skype or Teams. So you can just use it like that. However, if you go to the IPEVO website, there's some software you can download, and the one I'm going to show you is called Visualizer here. And first thing to note is that it's available for lots of different platforms, including Linux. Now, I haven't tried it on anything other than a Mac, but it's worth noting that it should be possible for various people to use this. Well, what happens if you run it? Let me run Visualizer here. I've already installed it. And we get a view of the camera. Now I'm going to expand that a little bit here, and you can see various controls down here, some of which mirror the controls that are actually on the side of the camera itself. So for example, I can well, actually, let me work through these in order. That's probably best. So if I click this one at the top, you can change all sorts of different things about the camera. Firstly, the refresh rate here. So again, if you have a flicker issue with 50 or 60 Hertz, you can switch between those. You can change the brightness, similarly to the way you can do with the exposure on the camera, contrast, gamma, hue, if you want to change the color of your desktop, and so forth. And even some keystoning here, so if you haven't been able to position your document or your camera over your document on a flat surface, maybe if your document was actually on a lectern or something, this might be quite useful. So those are up there. Here we've got zoom. You can zoom in and out, but we'll come back to that in a minute for reasons I'll show you. Here we can rotate the image here. Arbitrary rotation as it happens, though to be honest this is going to be digital. It's probably much better to rotate the camera head if you can. You won't lose any quality. Now here we can choose the resolution, and this is the default of 1080p basically, but if I switch to there we get a 4K image, and this is significantly better. though obviously it puts more load on your system. It's not going to be any use trying to broadcast this over YouTube or anything, but well, certainly not over Zoom or Skype. But what this does mean now is that if I zoom in on here, you can zoom in quite a long way and get quite a lot of detail here of close up on your page, or maybe this might be useful if you were looking at a circuit board or something like that. So this is really recording a much higher quality image, for example, than I'm showing you in this little video clip. I should be clear, this is not recording, this is displaying at the moment, and what you're seeing because I'm doing a screen recorder. Now this does also have the ability to record movies, and we'll come back to that. Here we can change the exposure, make it lighter or darker, pick the white balance and so on. It doesn't have a white balance sample, you just have to judge it by eye. Here we can choose the focus. Now there is a focus button on the camera, so let me put something a little bit higher up here. Let's see there, and in fact it's on continuous autofocus at the moment, so it actually does a pretty good job of selecting that. But if I put it on a single shot focus, I can press the button, say, there you go, and you can see it's got quite a nice focus on this thing that I'm just holding it at a random height. And if I go back to that, because it's, yeah, despite the fact I set it to single shot focus, it does seem always to do it continuously, but hey, that's not normally too much of a problem. And this is slightly wacky. There are filters here. So for example, what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to zoom in a little closer here using the good old manual zoom, so that I'm looking at mostly at my bit of paper. There you go. And I'm going to show you some of these effects because they're actually quite wacky. Now, I'm not sure whether you would have a need for that. My hand looks funny, but it may be that it would be kind of interesting to have this. If you recorded this as a video, you could perhaps use it as some kind of overlay on, maybe even in front of yourself, because it has a black background. Anyway, I think there might be some interesting options there, but for the moment, I'll switch back to the normal video view. So those are some of the things you can do down the side here. Over here you've got the ability to, for example, that's the focus button over on the right. Here we can turn the little light on and off, which doesn't make very much difference when we're under bright lights like this. You can do picture in picture, like here I can pick one of my other cameras, like my FaceTime HD camera, and then you can see me. So there are all these various options here, but I think that this gives you really quite a good image here. And remember, the movie you're seeing is not as high as the resolution of the camera. Now, the other thing you can do here is, this is where you can take various actions. So, for example, I can capture a still snapshot like that and save it somewhere. I can record a movie with or without me in the corner. I can stream live to YouTube. I can do time lapses, which might be useful if you're monitoring a Petri dish or something under your camera. Scan QR codes, scan documents. So you can actually capture a document here. If you're doing that, I think it tries to detect the edges of the document and text, so it doesn't work well if what you've got is a drawing. And I can magnify a particular area here if I want to zoom in a little more on one of my on part of my screen. So I think this, obviously you can imagine that if you were using this plug sent directly to a projector, this is the equivalent of a traditional camera-based visualizer, which you could just put up on a projector. But what I'm doing here is recording my screen, and so I'm able to combine this and use this and blend this in with other things as part of my recording. Anyway, there you go. I hope that gives you a little bit of an overview of what you might want to do with the IPEVO document camera, and I'll let you explore a bit further. I think in its simple case, just being able to have it as another 1080p video stream is really quite useful.